something that happens. So what must be done? Number one, we believe that we need to come up with ways and means of curbing the high cost of politics. The cost of politics, ladies and gentlemen, is a point of concern to our democratization process. Number two, we need to find ways of combating corruption in political finance. Political finance, by its nature, attracts many acts of corruption. Aside from the usual one we know of vote buying, most of the monies that end up financing election campaigns, ladies and gentlemen, come from not clean sources. It actually comes from dark sources, because nobody will tell you where the money comes from. But we know it comes from dark sources, and dark sources are always dirty. And the reason they are dirty is that most of this is proceeds of crime, including corruption. But also those who provide the money then come back and they capture. They capture those that have been bankrolled, and they end up influencing the outcomes of public procurement processes. We need to address the very weak political finance regulatory framework. Ladies and gentlemen, Uganda suffers from a lack of guardrails for financing politics, for financing election campaigns, for financing political parties. What we have in place is not enough. We do not have we have a very weak regulator of political finance, because apparently today the responsibility to regulate political finance is heaped on the Electoral Commission. But the Electoral Commission, which is the shoulders the burden of political finance regulator, is also burdened with a very humongous task of organizing and conducting elections. If you go to the Electoral Commission, the Department of Legal, where this role is designated, has a personnel of not more than 4. We have tried to request for information about the reports from political parties that receive public funding, and every time we have requested, and we've been requesting since 2015, those the requests have not been responded to, and we discovered later that actually when the political parties submit this information, they submit it in hard copies, and it is heaped in a store, thrown in a store. There is no person to go there and sift through and make sense of what is submitted. Personnel, very weak regulatory institution. And the other thing that must be done is to make sure that politics is taken away from being a preserve of the super rich. Because many young men and women who have the capability to govern even better and serve better are denied the opportunity because they cannot have the money that is needed. Today we are estimating that if you are going to contest for a member of parliament for 2016, the nominations of which will happen in August, you should have a war chest of at least 600 million. This is not simple money. And the problem with the politics is that when you're going to start spending on politics, you should have reached a level where you can get the 600 million and throw them in the lake and not feel anything. Otherwise, you're going to develop heart attack because you have no guarantees that will be the eventual winner. And the other point of concern is that in Uganda, money is used to control voter consent. You see, we highlight these articles, Article 21 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but also Article 25 of the International Covenant for Civil and Political Rights. According to those articles, elections cannot be genuine if they do not reflect the free expression of the will of electors. The challenge with money is that once money comes into the picture, the electors are going to vote not based on their free expression or will, but on the directions given by the one that has provided the money. And it means therefore that the one who has money is controlling the consent of voters, which contravenes these fundamental principles of genuine elections. So if you look at elections in Uganda from 2011, 16, 21, they are not what you can actually refer to as an expression of the will of the people, but rather you can simply put, they've been an expression of the power of money. So we are arguing here that when money manufactures voter consent, so you are using money to manufacture voter consent, it creates what we are calling cosmetic democracy, of which I referred to earlier on in other activist metaphors as a zombie democracy. And once this happens, it has the potential to weaken the state, and the weakened state will often crumble into captivity under the weight of corruption. Because those benefactors that bankrolled the party that won, or the candidates that won, will determine what those candidates, those leaders will eventually do when they assume office. As they say, who pays the piper always calls the tune. So we are also reinforcing that by stating that when money is used to procure electoral victory, when money is used to procure electoral victory, the principle of civic participation gets eroded, and democracy cannot survive if there is no meaningful, and I should have put that in quote unquote, meaningful or underlined, meaningful citizen participation. And of course, elections then have become delegitimate when the consent of voters is either bought or manufactured. So these are my closing thoughts, our closing thoughts. We face a situation where there is lack of political will and or reluctance to enact and enforce laws that can insulate politics against the vagaries of monetized politics of money and its necessary concomitant of political corruption. And this is the basis of our call to action, the call for rationalization of by-elections, but also the call to put in place guardrails to regulate the use of money in our elections. So deliberate effort must be done to curb the cost of politics in order to bring it to a level where all citizens have an opportunity to participate either as candidates or voters. So political party leaders, this goes to them, they should also embrace the principles of openness, transparency, and accountability in the management of party finances if they are to cement their status as governments in waiting. We do not understand why political parties don't lead by example and do not want to stand out as islands of integrity by exercising that which we think is deficient in the party that is in the government. And if they're going to be taken seriously, we need to start seeing them being open, transparent, and accountable, especially in utilization of monies. It should be clear where the monies they are using is coming from. It should be clear to the electorate how much they spend, it should also be clear how that money is, decisions to spend that money are taken. So these are our closing thoughts.